If I want to talk about a guy, I hook up with a guy, and you're down there in Mississippi or somewhere else in New York, conservative, and it's like, well, I don't want to hear about this. Okay, well, let me help you.
Right. You can find your way to Block City, honey.
Block City, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to This QPOC Life, a podcast that looks at the world through the lens of a queer person of color. That's us.
Yeah.
Now, if you're joining us for the first time, you are welcome in this place. If you're coming back, well, we still have a lot to talk about, so let's get you caught up. This week, I am joined by 3 of my favorite non-toxic crayon colors. So please introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. My name's Carlos Rios, and you can catch me online at Trey Fabulo. My pronouns are he, she, they, hers is, and Dr. Sigmund Freud.
Yes. Which color in the crayon box?
And my color is cerulean, honey.
Yes.
Ooh. Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Aris. You can find me online at Zachary Aris. My pronouns are open. My Filipina third eye is also open. And I'm enjoying my whoring 20s.
What color in the crayon box are you?
Oh my God. Purple pizza.
I think that's a rose art color.
Well,
She didn't have money. They didn't have money for the real
I'm mixed,
crayon.
boxed, let me...
Damn. She couldn't get that Crayola money.
I said any crayons that want to be in the box are welcome, and that's just the crayon that I identified with.
Well, I had the crayon box with the crayon sharpener.
With sharpener, the deluxe, the 60-pack, yes.
Oh, so she came from wealth.
Yeah, but didn't turn out an artist. So,
And look what happened.
the one with the rose art. Yeah.
Rose art.
Got
Maybe
the
we need to
career.
do a research study.
I'm Johnathan, a.k.a. Blasian FMA. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And the color in the box that I am is brown because I'm brown.
Come on, brown.
Brown.
No, I appreciate that because I wanted to make sure that I incorporated brown into the web design somehow because it's a hard color to design with.
Yeah.
It
people.
is.
So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna.
It's a very rare corporate color.
Yeah.
Look at our website, thisqpoc.life.
Yeah.
There you go. You may call me Jolie. That is Joe with no E. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and brute. And the color that I am is indigo.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh!
I love that for you.
The one on the spectrum that you can't really see. Right?
But she's still there.
Well,
But she's still there.
Yeah, no, you can still see it. The one that actually doesn't exist is magenta. That's a trick of your eyes.
Right. Oh, though, I didn't mean to say that you can't see. It's the one that nobody includes when we're talking about the colors of the rainbow.
That's why you got to say Roy G. Biv.
And the Biv, no, the I in Biv is indigo. And nobody says indigo when you're making a rainbow flag. They're like, that always says indigo. They just...
That's true.
That's because
simplify.
in prison they used to call me Indiho. So
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
well, speaking of crayon
Not to invalidate
colors,
your existence,
right.
Jolie.
Speaking of crayon colors and indigo, you're listening to
the award-winning This QPOC Life.
That was transitions, honey.
This QPOC Life. This QPOC Life. This QPOC Life. This QPOC Life. This QPOC Life.
Zachary's lenses.
I hate my lenses.
Oh my God.
Looking like an old Filipino Lola walking out in the sun.
Straight
My
Lola
eyebrows tattooed on.
Zachary, are those sunglasses?
My skin.
That dark lip liner.
A little lemon juice still resting on my skin because I was bleaching in the back. And then my transitions.
Oh, I gotta go.
And my perm. All right, here we go.
Cool. So if this is the first time that you're listening to us, I'm going to set it down very easily for you all. And if you've been here before, well, welcome back. At the beginning of this season, we challenged each other to certain goals that we wanted to make sure that we accomplished by the end of our season, which happens at the end of May, give or take. So with that in mind, I thought it would be a great time to check in with each other and see how are we doing in progress to our goals, because a goal measured is a goal met.
Okay.
HR corporate talk.
Come
right
on,
there.
Mary Berry.
Johnathan, how are you doing on your goal?
Woo! My goal for all those who are new is to finish principal photography on the independent film that I am writing, producing, and directing. Is
Oh,
it only
she's a
Southerners that say
multi-hyphenate.
direct?
Ooh. Watch out, Barbara Streisand.
Not her. Maybe Spike Lee, but
Oh, okay, that too.
not that white woman. Not on this podcast.
Damn. At least they didn't call you Tyler Perry.
I take him before Barbara Streisand.
Sis, we see you with that brooch.
Oh, I was looking for somebody walking in the hallway.
No, I was talking about Tyler Perry, girl.
So, I am, okay, so update. I mean, I don't even know where the last time we did an update where I was. We had a table read. I've casted it. I just recently put out a production call to assemble a team, and I've got friends at Slay TV. I've got friends in the Black queer content creator community, and we're putting that together. Got to finish the screenplay. I've given myself a deadline of February 1st.
I saw the outline for that screenplay. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
I'm very
Here
excited.
we go.
Well, who's next? Who's going to tell us? Is it Jolie?
I'll go, sure. So my goal was to get some bookings as myself for Pride. Now, it's still too early to start submitting myself for those bookings, but I am actively working on my next single releases.
Did I hear the S?
Multiple? With
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I'm talking plural. I am currently working on what will be released this month, what will be released in February, and what will be released in March.
Once, twice, three
Right.
times
One of the one,
a
two-
lady. Yes.
That's going on my Twitter bio immediately.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to getting those out. The song coming out in March is actually a co-write that I did with some friends, and I'm really excited about. I've got other collaborations that are coming, songs I'm co-writing for other artists. And a bonus update, a song that I co-produced with my friend Kisos just got put on Queer Necessities, the Billboard Pride playlist on Spotify.
Oh, come on now.
Ooh. Nice.
I'm real excited. Of course, that pales in comparison to the playlist placement that Carlos Rios gave me.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's on my work playlist. And you know,
I got significant numbers from
you did. And you know that at least one of your jams will be going onto the playlist for this year. So don't you worry about it, boo-boo. I got you.
Be ready.
I started the beginning of this challenge with the goal of learning Tagalog, and I've searched high and low, and I cannot find like in-person classes in New York. And I've really struggled and I wasted a lot of time with that. So I had to sort of reevaluate what my challenge was for this season. And I kind of realized I have to do a new challenge because there is a chance that my roommate may be moving in with her partner in June. So I have to quickly get first, last, security, moving fees saved up. And I was very worried about it. Because I was like, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot. That's many thousands. But then I was like, you know what? Something I realized that I did over the summer from August until now is I paid off my credit card debt from, $5,000 to zero. And
yes, ma'am.
I realized, I was like, wait a second, I might be able to do this.
You can.
So I'm just going to eat a lot of ramen.
Perfect.
The end.
I'm still eating a lot of ramen.
God,
So there we go.
We got ramen at the house.
All right. Well, in related money news,
Well, real
sorry.
quick. I wanted to tell you that you're not alone in your struggles to find Tagalog classes because one of our listeners, Kyle, who lives on the West Coast, was trying to take a class at a local school, but they had to cancel the class because there wasn't enough enrollment. So you're not alone.
Wait, for Tagalog?
People not learning to
That is
speak
ridiculous.
Tagalog.
That is ridiculous because all the Filipinos live out there.
I know.
Maybe they already know how to speak Tagalog.
Oh,
That's a
that's
problem.
Maybe.
Damn, I blame white people.
Same.
So I apologize for cutting you
you're
off,
fine.
Carlos.
And in related money news.
Yes, money.
My goal was to save $3,000 and put that away between the start of our season and the end of our season. I am happy to report that as I've been continuing to save using my direct deposits and just putting it into a special bank account that I don't get to touch or manage, I am now at $1,125 put away.
Yes.
So we're just a little bit shy of halfway there. And by next week, when I get paid and the next funds go in, then I will be at halfway.
Come on, Susie Horman.
Yes.
I hate you.
And it's good. And, it's nice. There is that saying that like money you never see is money you never miss, right? And so because it's not been in my checking account, not that there's no temptation for me to spend it, but I don't think about it as money that I should be spending or have the ability to spend because I'm like, no, it's locked away somewhere.
Right.
I don't want to touch it.
Is it a high yield spending account?
No.
A savings account? High yield savings
It's just
account?
a regular savings account. But what I'd like to do once that's all done is figure out like where I want to direct the funds, maybe put it towards something that'll make me more money. But for right now, the first thing was just like put the money away.
But we are growing our wealth.
Yes,
in
honey.
2020.
We have to. We have to
Yes.
expand my territory. Yes.
Get that passive income.
All right, TD Jakes.
Come on, Mary Berry.
Come on, prayer of Jabez.
Take the shackles off my feet.
Thank
so
you.
I can dance.
Well, I think we've all made some amazing progress, and I'm very proud of us. And I look forward to our next Gold Chicken. But for now, let's take a quick break.
Now that I'm thinking of Mary plus Mary Berry, I'm thinking,
Mary Berry.
take these shackles off my soggy bottom.
Bye.
Most of us have been there. Since the boom of social media, we've become closer or constantly connected, rather, with family members, old friends from high school, college, or even childhood. And it's through this constant digital space that our ideas, ideologies, beliefs, and opinions are allowed to exist, rub up against each other, clash.
And before we go down this rabbit hole too far, we also want to acknowledge that this issue we're about to talk about isn't limited to just online spaces. We're connected to humans in real life, whether through work, recreational gigs, or our personal lives.
So, what do you do when someone doesn't align with your spirit? What do you do when you find yourself constantly at odds with someone online or in real life? What do you do when a family member or friend triggers your anxiety every single time you're around them? Or one of those same people constantly attempts to invalidate, demean, and belittle your existence.
We all just got through the holiday season, and many of us spent time with those types of people. Some of us might even have pending discussions with said folks and don't know how to approach the conversation.
Come on, Sailor Moon, get together reading.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Jupiter.
I'm
Wait, no,
Sailor
I'm
Moon.
Mercury. I'm
I'll be
Mercury.
Sailor Moon.
I'm Mercury. She's
June
Venus.
30th. Cancer.
I mean, I'm also a Cancer, but I won't be Sailor Moon. I can be Venus because she was her stunt double and also cuter.
Exactly.
Can I be the cat?
Luna?
Luna or
Okay.
Artemis?
Sure.
Or Diana?
Luna.
Okay.
Luna's a bad bitch.
She was.
You could have had a bet. No.
And Zach is Queen Beryl. Great.
Yes.
Fuck my drag. Okay.
That crystal ball.
Cool.
Okay.
So where do we want to start? I mean,
Ooh, child.
what do we do with toxic people? I mean, I think there's a difference too between I mean, there are people who are challenging in our life, right? And then at some point there is a line that is crossed where it becomes toxic. And I wonder if people have had situations in their life or a way that they have defined what that crossover is.
For me, growing up in, I guess now, as of today, or as of 2016, a Republican state, which before it was not. I guess it's realizing that, like, if these people do not care enough about me or people like me, then I have to cut them off. Like, that's why last week I talked about that I miss my family, but I don't want to go back home and move. And that's the first time that I really felt that after when I left home. I was like, oh, I don't want to go back there.
Get me back to New York!
Yeah, I have to, like, girl.
It's nice to visit.
Right, briefly.
Cute for a weekend.
Cute for a weekend. And also, like, last week when I spoke about, I think that this applies too. That, truth hurts 2020. Like, there will be casualties, and not every friend is going to make it to your promised land with you.
Right. Well, what's interesting in my experience, it's not just the people who are toxic, but it's also people who are attached to memories that are toxic for me in my space right now. Like, toward the end of last year, I actually went through and unfriended everybody I knew from church, because there's always this sort of nagging thought in my mind. What are the people who knew me in high school, or not in high school, but in church as a teenager? What must they be thinking about me? And I had to be like, you know what? Fuck what they think about me.
Right.
Because that has nothing to do with me now. I have nothing to do with them. And they don't have any consequence. They don't have to have any consequence on my life from here on out. So I had to sort of divorce that from my life, right? And that's part of the luxury of and privilege of living in New York City. It is such a big city that you just kind of have to stop going to the same neighborhood, and you won't see most of those people anymore.
That's true.
Because there's so many people here that you could just sort of get lost in the crowd and lose track of people. So there's been that part of it for me, but also just depending on the spaces that you go into and you spend your time in, like, you can identify the people who are problematic, who push your buttons, and not push your buttons in a way that's like challenging for you, in a way that grows your character, but people who just push your buttons the wrong way, the people who make you feel unsafe, and understanding I don't have to be friends with any of those people. I don't have to talk to any of those people. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that I don't try to be kind to those people, because that's not how I want to operate. But I don't have to entertain a relationship with everybody. And just because I see people a couple times a month doesn't mean we even have to be friends on social media.
That's right.
Like, my social media space can be my social media space. And you don't have to be a part of that, because it is for me.
It is also optional. I just want everyone to know social media is optional.
Correct.
Yeah, and you can be friends with them in the physical space.
Exactly.
Or you can be
I can see you.
Cordial.
I can see you every week at a rehearsal, and you're still not going to be on my social media if I don't want you to be. Like, that's my space. So, it's crazy to me. And like, the thing that I want to lead off with is this idea. I'm playing white devil's advocate, and it usually is white people, but it's also like, it's also people of color. So I'm not just going to say just white people.
I don't know. I know some pastors who love.
But in my experience with white people pertaining to what I'm about to say, as the white devil's advocate of this, like the antithesis of this conversation, is like, well, like, don't be too sensitive, or like, you should stay around in these people. You should be that force that appears on their feed, or be that person in their life, so that you can lead as an example to show that everyone in your community is not what they have in their mind. And I'm like, fuck that. Like, I'm not here to educate. Are you going to pay me? Like, because the way that the world is working right now is folks are getting left behind and canceled and buried alive because they hold these archaic views. So I don't need to be the one to explain or be an example or a beacon or a light in your your little world. I don't need to do the work for you to come out of that ignorance. Like, I can choose to live in my own bubble if I want to. And it's not like I'm unaware of what's outside of that, but there is a reason that we talk about self-care, and there is a reason why we talk about mental preservation for ourselves. It's because we as a people, especially in the queer community, I just saw this amazing quote that a lot of people posted, talking about, as queer adults, we're just now living life because, or rather all of our life, we have to like act a different way. You all saw that. I think all three of you reposted the quote.
I didn't. I just saw that everybody.
I saw it.
And I was like,
you know what I'm talking about? It's like,
as adults, like, we're finally figuring out who we are, because our entire formative, or for most of us, especially in our generation, like, our formative years, we spent being a inauthentic version of ourselves.
Right.
And so because of that, we've built this false persona, and now only as adults are we deconstructing what that is, and we're having to heal from all of the toxic behavior and things that we actually perpetuated upon ourselves because of the survival instincts that we had to do to get to where we are today.
And so because we have created that, because we are getting rid of that old self of having to finagle our way through life at the expense of others, I don't want to have to be in their eyesight. If I don't want to. If they don't see it for me, then I don't see it for them. And was it earlier this episode or the last episode that I was like, that's my motto for this year is like, if you're not ride or die for me, then I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Like, because I'm not going to, censor myself. If I want to talk about a guy, I hook up with a guy, and you're down there in Mississippi or somewhere else in New York, conservative, and it's like, well, I don't want to hear about this. Okay, well, let me help you.
Right. You can find your way to Block City, honey.
Block City, Pennsylvania. Block City in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
But also to that point, it's just like, it's the expectation to do the homework for white people, at least as far as that specific example is concerned. And all of us have expressed being tired of having to do that at some point during the almost 70 episodes of this podcast that we've done. You're welcome to go back and listen to every single one to catch where. But honestly speaking, just it's not our responsibility alone. And people are only going to listen to the people they want to listen to. And it's been made fairly clear that those folks don't want to listen to the words coming out of our mouths.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's time for the people who call themselves allies to step up and do the homework and to have those conversations, because otherwise those allies are just toxic people who are taking up our space, listening to our words, and then not doing anything.
And then there are people
that
who are not allies. They're not allies, and they don't even pretend to be allies for these people. And so I really want to think about the listeners, especially those ones that have probably just come out of holiday season, probably had a fight at a dinner table, but this is a friend from elementary school, or but this is my mom, or but this is my dad, or but this is my brother.
Right.
At some point, you have the right to cut them out of your life.
Right.
Yep. I can share a personal story with that. So it's 2020. My mom, in a month, my mom will have been gone for 14 years. And when my mom passed, I was living with her. My brother and I were living with her. My dad and mom got divorced, so my dad wasn't living with us. And so it was just us. And then my mother's side of the family, so my grandma and grandpa and one of my uncles, they were living in the same county as us. And one of my aunts was down further in South Florida near Miami, and the other one was in Fort Myers on the opposite coast. And when everything happened with my mom, things got really ugly with the family. Like, nothing will bring people together or tear them apart like death. And so and when I say we, I mean me, but I really did do it with like a consensus of like me and my brother and my dad. We made some decisions around what we wanted to do with the house and the estate, and even just simple things like immediately changing the locks to the house, because there were random people that had keys to the house and we didn't want people in the house unless we were there, and we just kind of wanted our own space. And so because of those kinds of things and because of issues with the estate, things got really, really ugly with the family. Like with my mom's side, they got really grabby. At one point, my brother was staying with my uncle who was living in Fort Myers, and they were helping sort of take care of him and helping him with school and things like that. Because I was myself like 20 and going to college and trying to finish up and like also trying to take care of myself. So I couldn't do all of it at one time. And at one point, like my uncle brought my grandmother over and my brother, and he like cussed me out on my front door and told me that he was going to take the house away from me and he was going to own everything. And like it was awful. My grandmother's like in the corner like crying, and like the whole thing was just a fucking disaster show. And so anyway, I say that to say that those were the kinds of things and experiences that I had that were really, really, really damaging. And so even when it is family, and sometimes maybe even especially when it is family, because these are people that in theory are supposed to be there for you and supposed to support you and love you unconditionally. if those people are not there for you in your moment of absolute need, then you actually don't need them. So it has been a very long journey, and I was full of like rage and anger and resentment to that side of my family for the longest time. And the only way that I could get over it or get through it maybe was by letting them go. And I ceased all contact and communication with that side of my family. I do not actively seek them out today. It's been 14 years. I do believe in my heart that I have worked through that, and I do forgive them because I understand that they were grieving and they didn't know how to express it. And they are also like a treasure trove of all different kinds of mental illness, etc. However, like we were talking before, it's not an excuse, but it is a reason. And unfortunately, because of that situation, like I had to make a decision. So those are people.
The onus of like who should be apologizing and trying to work this out is not on you.
Sure.
You are a 20-year-old who just lost their parent whose home you shared with them. They are an adult, point blank, cut and dry, period.
Right.
They are a grown-up.
Right.
Who may have lost a daughter or a sister. Yes, but they still have certainty in their lives.
Right.
So I had to cut a family member out last month. Not necessarily cut out, but not reopen a channel of communication. I realized that so on my dad's side of the family, we are all very close because we're Filipino. On my mom's side of the family, while we are still very close, there's also, 10 brothers and sisters. 3 of them are lesbians. And those 3 plus my mom stayed in Michigan with my grandparents and supported my grandparents. The other brothers and sisters all moved down south where my grandfather was originally from. And I realized that when one of my aunts passed away in like 2000 or 2001, when she passed away, some of those brothers and sisters did not come to the funeral because they are very conservative. A few others did come to the funeral and had very select things to say about her, even though she had just passed away. Some of those family members still have select things to say about my remaining aunt in Michigan. And I realized that like when some of these family members over December were trying to add me on Facebook or trying to talk to me or call me to check in, like, I'll see you when my grandmother passes away. I don't need to talk to you now. Like, you're all losers. Like, you are Trump supporting, welfare, Medicare, never worked in your life, conservatives. I don't need you. Go with God. I'm leaving you, to quote Carlos, I'm leaving them in God's hands.
Thank you. God's hands.
Well,
God's hands.
And also another thing I've realized too, and I'll keep this part short, but like, sometimes you have to to JoJo's point about being able to go somewhere else and like have a completely different circle of friends. Like I've realized in my life, there have been so many times where I've had to cut everything out, move into a new space, whole new friend circle. And I'm so thankful that I haven't had to do that with my current group of friends through the PAO. I haven't had to. And that's really, really nice. When it happens, I'm sorry, but we'll always be friends. I'm just kidding.
Just a point to think about for us and for our listeners, like something that I'm doing is analyzing where I'm the toxic person. And where I'm doing that is at home right now. So just in transparency, so that folks are so folks can hear that real life does happen. Like my sister has been very good to me this past year that I've been struggling, and she's covered my part of the utilities for several months, and I owe her money for that. And like I said a couple weeks ago, I still owe her, at this point, as we're recording this, I still owe her some money back for the rent. And it's gotten to a point where she's had to tell me that, like, I've got to get a handle on this quickly, or we're going to have a conversation about either I'm going to have to get out of our home or just stay on the couch and we find somebody else who can cover the bills, or like, well, that's the situation, right? So, and I have nothing but admiration for her to be able to tell me to my face, this is where we're at. I cannot do this anymore. And so that's where I'm at in doing this homework as fast as I can to get myself right and to fix what my routines are, or to get myself on a routine, period, to be honest, and to gather my edges once and for all, because I don't want that to have to be something that hangs over the relationship I have with my sister, because she means that much to me. So I want to, again, like I was talking before, I think last episode, it's just like, yeah, I have this thing that has been getting in my way my entire life, but I can no longer let that get in my way, because while it's a dysfunction, it's something that I can manage. I just have to do better about it and be proactive about it. So yeah, a point to think about is analyzing, as you're thinking about who the toxic people are in your life, you might need to start thinking about where you bring toxicity into your relationships.
Well, Johnathan, I had a question on the subject, like to dovetail off JoJo. Like, if you've cut out someone who is being toxic in your life, and they come to this realization, like how is it best for someone who has been cut out of a relationship or a friendship to go about like fixing or healing these wounds?
For me, or
well, for anyone, like if you've cut someone out, what is the best way for them to try to like fix or resolve an issue?
I mean, if I've cut someone out, then it's because I feel that they've done something to me. So they need to acknowledge that in written form and then send it to me.
So you said, what about the letter?
Yes. and wait for a response. And if it doesn't come, then they just be, it's now on my time. But I also feel that at that, like, in order to, when you cut people out, it's not like you have to be able to do that. And I'm very afraid for me, it's just easy. It is an easy thing. I can do it with friends, family, and move on.
Right.
But I'm afraid that a lot of people are not able to do it. And I'm afraid that, and I believe that's why we're having the conversation today, is because there are people who continue to maintain these toxic relationships where it's people cursing them out on their doorstep, or people speaking against them on every Facebook post, or gossiping about them at church, and it gets back to them, and not cutting those people out because they care about the person, or they think they care about the person, or whatever. So for me, and I think for anybody else that is ready to welcome that person back, you need to do it cautious. You need to be cautious.
You need to be prayed up,
and they need to be able to discern if this is a genuine effort. But that person needs to show a genuine effort that they want to come back into your life. Because if they leave it open, or they're not trying. There also needs to be some time, right? It can't just be next week. Like, I'm sorry about what no. If it's gotten to the point where you had to cut this very important, allegedly, person out of your life, then there needs to be time.
Right.
There just needs to be time.
You have to go into it fully aware, because it can be like getting back with that ex. So, relationships are just as heavy, even if they're not romantic.
Well, with that is our time. I just want to once again say to all my queer ass folk out there, go out into the world armed with more knowledge and a reaffirmed spirit. I'm Johnathan.
I'm Zach.
I'm Carlos.
And I'm Jolie.
And this was
the award-winning This QPOC Life.
This QPOC Life. This QPOC Life. This QPOC Life. This QPOC
This QPOC life.
This QPOC Life.